Take a real deep dive into what you describe as the magnificent obsession of his career, his art, hustling, and not just Jay-Z, but you point out historian Walter McDougall saying that hustling is the central motive of American history. So can you break down the difference between what you describe as light hustling and bright hustling, and what are the implications of hustling both in America and with Jay-Z?
First of all, thank you for reading the book. That man done told me something I'm doing in my own book. That's how thorough he is. Give it up again for this brilliant young man, Dr. Dre. One of the most gifted intellectuals we have, and one of the most, storied and legendary upcoming scholars. He's going to be setting his mark for years to come. His parents are here too, so give it up for them, right? And I want to thank the Queen of Black America, Susan Taylor, for doing such a great thing. As she is in her sunset years, she can be chilling, going to Miami, hanging out, drinking mint juleps. That's a good idea though, but she's doing a lot more than that. And with these brilliant, beautiful women and men here working with CARE's mentoring movement, I got to shout out Ms. J.J. Smith and Mr. Todd Johnson. They're here. She is a weight loss guru, several books on the New York Times bestselling list. And Todd Johnson is a millionaire mentor, genius, and marketing genius. Raise your hands so everybody can see y'all back there. There's some bad people right there. And my man, Dr. James Peterson, you've seen him on CNN, MSNBC, author of 5 books, wrote a book called Prison Industrial Complex for Beginners. So when Dr. Bright asks me some tough questions, I'm gonna ask him to come up here and answer them, because that's above my pay grade. Them some 2 brilliant young guys. Look, hustling is, as Dr. McDougall said, the central motif of American history. And he means it in both the good and bad ways. He means people on the tape, on the scofflaws, people who are, trying to rip folk off. And he means Americans who are constantly looking for the next opportunity, the next scheme, the next big event, the next idea. And so that's the legitimate arm of hustling. The reason I introduced you to J.J. Smith and Todd Johnson, that's bright hustling. That's above the ground. That's legitimate hustling. That's when you go out here and get a paycheck, or you give people paychecks because you have your own business. You are seeing and aspiring to great things, and you are using your natural and native energy to realize and embrace those goals. That's bright hustling in the bright corners of culture, named after Marcus Bright. I told him later on, that's who it's named after. But those who pursue the legitimate means toward self-realization. Blight hustling happens on the corners of American society, the underground economy. People whose backs are against the wall, forced to sell crack cocaine, forced to engage in the political economy of crack, or seduced into cooperating with illicit, ill-gotten gain. And black hustling within that context has always been demonized, right? So that a lot of American families that are rich right now got started with crime, right? And so the crime now gets transferred and then transformed, and then political science and great dynasties are built upon Johnny Walker Red and running moonshine back in the hills. But now they become legitimate. Our kids do so. They are evil and pathological and nihilistic. White kids on drugs, opioids, my God, let's save them. Let's embrace them. Let's hospitalize them. Let's medicalize it. African American people, Latino people, Latinx people, 1980s and 90s, we on crack cocaine. Your thugs, put them in jail, give them drug sentences. People are still serving time right now for nonviolent drug offenses, for what they are now medicalizing young white brothers and sisters for. They are demonizing and incarcerating us. So the hustle has produced consequences for us that have been also destructive. And then I look at site hustling, a third thing, and that's kind of a combination. You ain't selling drugs, but you just making money off the books. You ain't reporting it. Like you cleaning somebody's house, or you shoveling their snow, or you painting their house, getting your hustle on, your side hustle, trying to make a living. I'm sure most of y'all report that to the IRS. But some people don't. So I wanted to talk about that because Jay-Z started selling crack cocaine in Brooklyn, then in Trenton, New Jersey, then up and down the East Coast. And he transferred that knowledge from the streets into the suites. He transferred what he did hustling on the corner to now becoming a billionaire, the first billionaire in hip hop. And his 50th birthday was just the other day, December 4th. Who you know fresher than home, riddle me that. The rest of y'all know where I'm lyrically at. So this guy has transformed himself into an extraordinary figure, and hustling is at the heart of what he does.
As you speak about the duality, so we continue to talk about hustling, a lot of Jay-Z's music, he talks about stories about himself and others being compelled into the hustling lifestyle, right? He says, can I live? We hustle out of a sense of hopelessness, almost desperation. You call it a weighthood, that there's an additional weight that our young people feel. What is the role, would you say, as we work with so many young people, of agency, of choice, even in the midst of adverse circumstances?
That's a great point. And the reason that's a great point is we don't want to act like people are mere victims of their circumstances, right? Jay-Z said in the prelude on the Black album, you know, y'all hear it when you're at concert, dun, dun, dun. You just hear that, what? Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hov, H to the O-V. I used to move snowflakes by the OZ. Anyway, so he says, ain't no sense in me lying like I'm gonna blame my environment. How would you explain the vibe is still in my vein? So he's saying, I made a choice. Even in the midst of the conflicted, you know, American terrain where choices are limited, you still choose to have agency to either embrace a lifestyle that is illicit or to forge another path that allows you to escape it. Now we understand that people have limited resources and choices at a particular moment. The brain is developing, you're 17, 18, 19 years old, you're making poor choices, or you're making choices that what you see before you. I'm a high school dropout, I have no upward mobility promised to me because I don't have a path to college, vocational school. That's not something that has been available to me, or I don't realize my goals and ambitions and that means, and so other routes are pursued. But choice is extremely important. How do I begin to understand my life as more than the sum of the parts of my environment? And that's extremely difficult because most people on the street hustling ain't gonna become Jay-Z. Not gonna get a rap album, not gonna play and be LeBron or Kobe or Mr. Whitehead and whoever's playing here in the Miami Heat right now. Be a D-Wade, have a D-Wade count. So the question is, what do those young people do? What is their route of escape? And how do we lock them up, incarcerate them, put them in detention, while others have gone free who have done equally offensive things, but they happen not to be in our neighborhoods? So choice is extremely important still, right? In the midst of that, you exercise agency. We did it in enslavement. As totalizing as slavery was, we still made choices to resist, to pull some pleasure. If you go see the film Queen and Slim, I ain't gonna give it away. But y'all need to go check that film out. I know black people are arguing about it, but that's one of the greatest films I've seen in a long time. And they're stealing pleasure and joy in the midst of the chaos along the way to an inevitable consequence introduced by white supremacy. You know, you ever seen that movie, Sophie's Choice? Where she's in, I don't want to give it away if you ain't seen it, but it is an old film, so I'm going to tell you. Based on a book by William Styron. So she is, you know, a victim as a Jew in a Nazi concentration camp, and she got 2 kids, and they make her choose which one is not going to go to the chambers. Can you imagine that? That you got to choose one of your kids to save while the other one will be sacrificed? That's Sophie's choice for us in many of these hoods, where our children are being sacrificed, where we know that the consequences are grave for their errors in ways they are not grave for other communities. We still teach them, have your wits about you, still choose to do the right thing, and we also have to do things that other people don't. Right? It is not right that when the police stop us, we should have to act in such an extraordinarily human fashion as to maintain ourselves while others be cussing the cops out and still live. It ain't right, but it's real. So we have to tutor our kids how to behave and engage with police people. Now we know there are many police people here today. We love police people. Nobody call the police more than black people. Black people call police in a minute. Mama, I told you I'm about to call the cops on you right now, right? So black people will call the police. We just want them to distinguish between the criminals and the citizens who are not committing crime. And we want us to be treated, we want ourselves to be treated in a dignified fashion. And so our interactions with the state have become quite destructive. My point simply is, There is choice, however, in the midst of that, and we must teach our children to exercise restraint and understanding of their own lives, even as we fight against the barriers that punish them that are racist or sexist or unjust in American culture.
Absolutely, and to Hove's credit, he did say, like I told you, sell drugs. No, Hove did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that. And his Bed-Stuy counterpart, Biggie, as he reflected on the choices, the streets is a short stop.
Either you slinging crack rock,
or you got a wicked jump shot.
damn, it's hard being young from the slums, eating 5-cent gums, not knowing where your meal's coming from. What happened to the summertime cookout?
Every time I turn around, a brother's being took out.
Choice.
At the same time, looking at the consequences.
Right. And you continue on as you talk about hip hop and sports, and you compare the convergence, or you look at the convergence between the stories of Jay-Z and LeBron James. And we're here in Miami. They produced the greatest high school football players in America by far. And a lot of that is generated from a sense of hustle, out of a sense of desperation that this is my route. So can you kind of elaborate on just the route, the narrative that the ways of escape are through hip hop or through sports or through hustling, and where does that leave us?
No, that's a great point. And think about Jay-Z on Some Day, Some Way. Either we're gonna rap metaphors out this MF, we're gonna tell jokes out this MF, we're gonna second floor hospital out this MF, but some way, we gotta find a way out. And usually it says all black people can do is play ball on the one hand or become an entertainer. Now, this young man right here is an example. You can do other stuff. J.J. Smith, an example. You can do other stuff. Todd Johnson, an example. You can do other stuff. James Peterson, an example. You can do other stuff. All of y'all here, example. Susan Taylor, example that you can do other things. But the choice of those other things is often distorted when it comes to us. And people don't tell, we don't tell this truth and the narrative about who we are. Right? We celebrate the athletes, that's beautiful. We celebrate the entertainers, that's beautiful. But we are celebrating the Marcus Brights of the world, getting that education against all odds, lifting himself up, proving his mettle. And this is why CARES mentoring is so important. You got to see it so you can be it. You got to replicate what you know. They see LeBron on TV. What, 17, 18 years in now? Still playing like he's second year? And if they win the chip this year, to me, Kobe is the greatest of all time, Stop hating. Stop hating out here. Stop hating. Understand what the nature of the game is. Understand what the nature of the game is. Understand the nature of what the game is, Todd. Understand what the nature of the game is. Somebody school these people out here. But anyway, if LeBron win the chip this year, I don't know. It's going to have to be rough. I need some James Peterson to help me here. Y'all trying to get a violent up in here. So the thing is, you need to see it to believe it, right? I'm at the basketball game with my man Todd Johnson, doing tremendous things, making crazy money. They need to see it ain't just LeBron on that court, it's my man off that court. J.J. Smith off that court. You doing what you do. CARES mentoring, we expose them, right? Brother Stephen Miller, expose them to highly intelligent black men and women, Latinx men and women, people of color who are doing extraordinary things. And so when we see sports and entertainment, however, we see this as a way out. America loves them, but look at how they ain't paying these kids in college. Then they arrest them for wanting to steal a darn jersey. You're making millions of dollars off of them. They have to be limited in what they can buy. And if they make one choice that is bad, then you're going to kick them out of school, ain't going to give them no money, and then deny them legitimate access to playing their game, right? We got to deal with that. We got a guy, Luka Doncic, who's a young white guy, 20 years old, from Eastern Europe, so somewhere in Europe. He is a beast. LeBron said, you a bad MF. We celebrate him. Oh my God, the commentators say he's been playing since he's been 16 years old, professional. But when a Negro over here trying to play professional, you all mad. Go to one and done, go to college. You're horrible, you don't want to be educated. So you celebrate the Eastern European guy that's been playing since he's been 16 because he's got opportunity. And then you demonize the young black and brown kids over here. So when we see them on Saturday in school doing what they do, and Florida and Texas producing some of the craziest athletes, skills that anybody's ever seen. And yet, the reality is they are seen as valuable when they're on that field, but when they get off that field, you scared of a 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" black man. You look at him like he's a criminal automatically. So we got to challenge some of that perception and stereotype. But yes, those routes of escape still appeal to many of us, but we want to say to them there are other ways and other means to become a meaningful, significant citizen and part of this culture, and it's up to us. What I've been trying to do to make that true, I've been trying for the last 30 years to make the life of the mind sexy. I want young people to say, oh, you can spit words, you can think, you can write and read books for a living, and that's a viable alternative, and that's something that gives life meaning, and you can shape conversations around this country by the word. That's what I've been trying to do, and I think we got to present alternatives to young people so they can see that there are many more things to do besides hooping and hollering.
You write extensively in the book about the history of black hustling in this country, about how we had to live off the books and kind of live at the margins of white society. And you mentioned that my mom and dad are here. They just moved from Tennessee, and my mom grew up picking cotton in West Tennessee. I'm the first generation of my family not to pick cotton since arriving here. And I think about hustling. I think about her father, my grandfather. He would haul hands. He would teach school. He sold insurance. He had a bunch of different hustles, and he bought a plot of land called Simmons Circle. And he had 5 children, and whenever it was time for one of those children to go to Tennessee State or go to college, he sold a plot of that land to pay for it. And so I think that we are kind of living an extension, and parents mentoring is like a Simmons Circle in terms of it representing vision and provision for the future. But just can you kind of talk about the historical continuum of hustling and looking back and where we are now?
Yeah, that's a great point. First of all, kudos to your family, to your to the grandfather, and then to you being first generation to realize that educational ambition. And look, we know even though black people were denied access to formal education, we were always smart. We understood the world. Just because we ain't got no PhD don't mean we don't understand what you be up to. And black people be signifying on you, right? That's some genius right there. But you ain't never been seen no rhetorical sophistication till you see black signifying going up, just in the look. Black woman can reduce you real quick, right? I'm just saying, and elevate you as well, right? And the way in which we engage in sophisticated interpretations of the culture, we may not be formally educated, but we're deeply intelligent. And your mama picking cotton, my mama picked cotton too, right? I'm first generation, going to school, getting a PhD like you. And so that is the product of the hustle of our people against the odds. My daddy was working as a master setup man at a wheel-breaking drum company in Detroit, got laid off. What did he do? Start Dyson's and Sons grass cutting and siding. Now, I ain't reporting that to the IRS. I hope it ain't no statute of limitations, god nigga. He wasn't making enough. I'm making more in one speech than he made in a year. Right? That's what it is, right? But my father started Dyson's and Sons grass cutting and sodding. And we were laying down sod, we would paint houses, we would pick up cans and steal on the street, take it down to the city, and then measure it and weigh it and get money. He wasn't too proud to do any of that because he wanted to support his family. Your people supporting their family. So the black hustle, however, has been demonized. Then they tell us, y'all dumb, y'all lazy. How we lazy? We worked for 300 years for free, building your country, while you worked us like hogs and slaves. And you calling us lazy. You calling Mexicans lazy when you got them doing everything that you don't want to do. Or Latinx people, right? It's interesting, but we get demonized and stereotyped as lazy. So black hustle was deep. Y'all seen Watchmen. Y'all know what happened in Black Wall Street, 1921? Black people say, cool, we've got long traditions of education where black people, unlike our families, 3, 4, 5 generations, Fisk University, Tuskegee, Alabama, A&M, right, all of that. And we had people who were hustling, who were doing businesses. They gathered there in Oklahoma, and those white folk got mad. They mad when you're stupid, quote, and dumb, and then they get mad when you show you got intelligence. They didn't want us having no nice suits. They didn't want us talking the king's English to the queen's taste. And when they saw that wealth, they firebombed us. They dropped incendiary devices out of planes and destroyed our communities. That was a deliberate act of subversion. 1919, 2 years before that, was the Red Summer. Red because the blood of black people flowed. Black men returning from World War I wearing uniforms like they did in World War II. And white folk got mad. How dare you wear the uniform of the American United States? And lynched those men for the unabashed temerity to be able to do that. So what the untold story of white supremacy being amplified by this bigot in the White House, this orange apparition, this man who stands up every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation he has turned into his psychic commode. He's dumb, unintelligent, unmolested by enlightenment, don't know 5 words. And the man who had the job before him, they got mad at him because he had a tan suit on. Right? If he had drank a white Russian drink in the White House, they'd have put his black butt out of office. And now this man got a white Russian in the White House. And doing all kind of crazy gases and Putin. Come on, y'all. Come on now. Come on, that was good. That was good. Come on. I'm gonna charge y'all extra money for this. So the thing is, black hustle has been stigmatized. Not only black hustle, and then you wonder why we get on the street and sell drugs. Because when we do it the legitimate way, you're murdering us, you're bombing us. When they said the worst act of terror on American soil was 9/11, no it wasn't. It was in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's the greatest act of violence against the state. And it was state supported as well as the citizens of that particular state. So for me, I think it's extremely important for us to understand how even when we get dough, there's suspicion and skepticism. Why you making that money? How you make that money? Make it on the streets? One thing, we make it in the suites is another. So we have to learn how to appreciate the value of generational wealth. And this is what Jay-Z talks about. This is what Susan Taylor has tried to mentor people about. We got to create infrastructures of opportunity that we can help our own people. That's why we need to be able to give jobs and pass out jobs. When I was coming along, I'm 61 years old, we had CETA, we had NYC. You could get a job and they would help you learn the value of getting up every day and going to work and learning to punch a time clock and being there on, my mama told me if you're on time, you're late. If you're on time, you're late. Get there early, right? So that kind of hustle is what informs an entire community, and that's why black people continue to survive. But we need those side hustles, working 3 and 4 and 5 jobs, right? We've been doing that. When white women, rightfully so, argue for the right to work outside the home, black women been doing that from Jump Street, right? So even within feminism, we have to understand the racial disparities between white women and black and brown and red and yellow women and how we move forward. But black hustle has been a serious center of acquiring opportunity and forging connections with others to create opportunity for ourselves.
Now, Doc, towards the end of the book, and everybody should go to Amazon.com and get the book, and you got to read it to the end. Toward the end of the book, you have a discussion there about the complex relationship between Jay-Z and the Reverend Al Sharpton, and even larger between hip-hop or our contemporary society and how we romanticize some of the leaders of the past and heap criticism on our current leaders. Can you expound on versus Jay-Z and Sharpton, and then our lens in terms of how we view modern leaders versus those from the past?
Right, man, you read that book, seriously, bro. Man, ain't nobody ever asked me that question in all the interviews I've done. I've been on Jimmy Fallon, I've been on Morning Joe, I've been on The View, I've been on all these shows. Ain't nobody ever asked me that question. It's brilliant, man. So, Al Sharpton as the preeminent black leader of this generation, unquestionable, right? But Al Sharpton was getting dissed as a hustler too. Wearing his, Run DMC suits, that's who influenced him. That's the generation he came of age on. Had his hair, why? Because James Brown saved him. It wasn't no bourgeois Negro that helped him out. It was the dude hustling on the street named James Brown, right? Who became an icon himself. And the thing James Brown wanted from Sharpton, do your hair like I do my hair. If you hustling in the streets, you're a young man who's a leader trying to make a way in the world, and this man takes notice of you, and the thing he asked for you in return is to do your hair, that's what he did. Now I dare y'all to to put Sharpton's hair next to George Washington and tell me you can tell the difference. Come on, man. Come on now. Both of them got dudes. George Washington had one, Al Sharpton had one. That means he's in presidential pedigree. Man, I know if I had a different crowd, Doc, if I had a different crowd up in here, I didn't know I was hitting the bourgeois Negro reflection. Anyway, but from the hood, Sharpton rose. Situation at the crib messed up. Daddy left the mama for a stepdaughter. He didn't start with Woody Allen. He came out of that. Lost status, went from black middle class down to poor, struggling. So in his own life, he's embodied many of the characteristics of some of these rappers, which is why Sharpton had such rapport with them and understood where they were coming from. But Jay-Z has both embraced Sharpton and made some criticisms of Sharpton. Not nasty, not vicious, but that's how it is. As Nas said, the best clash at the top. And to Sharpton's credit, he always understood Jay ain't got no personal animus towards you. Jay-Z is arguing that when Howard, what's my man who did the nappy-headed hoes? Don Imus. When Don Imus made his argument, Don Imus, I got you, tried to blame hip-hop. Just like Trump did, when he talking about he grabbing it. Black men don't grab, son. We call, we summons, because we have swag and intelligence. And our women love us, and they respond to us because we got game. We know how to spit, that real. We ain't got no money in the bank, but what's up, baby? How you doing? Yeah, I've been checking you out. That's all right, Daddy, I suppose. But anyway, so the point is, I'm sorry, I didn't want to keep it real like that, but I'm just saying, we have hidden assets. Man, y'all ain't even hearing me. Y'all ain't hearing me. So, we ain't got to grab nothing. Biggie said, some say the X makes the sex spectacular. Make me lick you from your neck. Well, anyway. Then he says, if it's all right with you tonight, we're loving. Affirmative consent. He ain't grabbing nothing. He asking, do you want to go on a journey, a ride, an escapade of erotic entanglement that will leave you deliriously delighted? I digress. So, Sharpton was talking to Don Imus said, look at all these rappers calling women bitches and hoes and skeezers and sluts. And ain't no rappers trying to hear that, including my man Jay. They ain't trying to hear that, but it's true. Sharpton ain't lying, right? I mean, when we had the Temptations, now we were just as sexist, misogynistic, and as in the early generations, but we wasn't gonna celebrate it in public. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. Ooh, doo, ooh, doo. Right? When it's cold outside, we say, I guess you say, what can make me feel this way? My hoochie, no, we ain't saying none of that. My girl, right? We celebrated the woman at that level. Still sexist, still dealing with toxic masculinity, I ain't gonna try to lie, but we didn't celebrate and embrace it. So, Sharpton, when Imus tried to shift the weight off of him, you know, it's like what Adam did to Eve. The woman that thou gavest me, she has done this, right? So men always trying to shift it onto the women. And so Imus tries to shift it onto hip hop. And then Jay said, what does Imus have to do with this? So they both had a legitimate point, but they had a battle, they had a clash about it. And he came at him, but I know for a fact, my man Jay loves Sharpton, because Sharpton has stood with him. And Sharpton still didn't take it personally. That's what I love about Sharpton. He understood. He made a joke. He said, yeah, well, since he put me in his albums, I'm going to put him on my sermons and talk about it. I love Sharpton's response. And what Sharpton understood is if he calling your name, you're the man anyway. Right? If he calling your name in his lyrics, dog, he's showing you mad love. Just like people send me stuff. I'm in the New York Times puzzle. You know, people get mad. I'm a puzzle piece, Negro. I'm good. Damn it, I've been on Jeopardy. That's what I do. I write books like Negroes write hooks. That's what I do. So he had that tension. He expressed it in his music, but personally, he's worked with Sharpton and the like. And Sharpton has been an emblem of enlightened engagement with these issues across the board, even when he disagrees. Then he talks about Martin Luther King Jr. He talks about, and I talk in the book about that, make relationships between them, and let's be real. I'm gonna end by saying this. Beyonce made an album called Lemonade. She ain't never named Jay's name, but we knew what she was talking about. That's how cold black women are. I ain't got to call your name. But you know who I'm talking about, Negro. You know it's you. He took responsibility and came out with an album 444. And he made a song, I Apologize. That's a lot of, just can you apologize for messing up? Martin King Jr. could have used that too. He had the same situation. I won't get in this business, but you know what it is. He's on the road 28 days out of most month. He ain't Jesus, and you know what it was. And many people were trying to share the dream with him on the road. I'm gonna leave that alone. Y'all ain't ready, y'all ain't ready. I have a dream, so do I, baby. So, man, I could tell you some stories. Dyson, you are doing the wrong thing now. Stick to the lecture at hand. Y'all should see, we're gonna go on the road with this. So the thing is, Jay-Z has opened up space both to embrace our iconic figures, to celebrate them, but also to bring legitimate criticism of all of us, because if we point the finger, we need to point at ourselves. So we go dog, let me end by saying this, we'll dog hip-hop for what it does, and it's legitimate criticism to be made about misogyny and sexism and homophobia. But then the dude who was a comedian went around the country dogging people for 10 years. And the people would sing and yellow and butterfly. And we looked the other way while he was drugging women. Because he drugged us first with that belief that bourgeois Negroes should look down on their kids. No, do what Susan Taylor does with the Cares Mentoring Movement and the brilliant, beautiful men and women in Miami. Don't dog them, lift them up. Maybe their draws are sagging because their dreams are sagging. And when you lift their dreams, their draws might follow. Even if they don't, the dreams will still be up. And so that's the kind of thing he opens up and engages in multi-generation conversation.
Let's give it up for Dr. Michael Eric Dyson.